I am blessed today, Dr. Diane and Dr. Gilda. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having us here. This is going to be fun.
Of course. Dr. Gilda, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to work with you.
It's my pleasure, and it's always an honor to have Dr. Diane and have you on. Dr. Diane, the last time we met, we talked about some of the things you've done.
Yeah.
And then I'm checking with you, basically. It was just a call to check with you, see what's new with you since we last met.
Well,
most people know you by now, but for those who don't know you, tell me, who's Dr. Diane?
I'm a lot of different things. Depends on which day I'm working. But right now, as you know, I still work for several universities and teach and do a lot of things. But in addition to my company where I help people build curiosity and perception and all the behavioral issues that we've talked on your show in the past about,
Yes.
I've started a new venture as well with my dear friend, Dr. Gilda Carle. And, it's just kind of fun because she and I both have been in the media in different ways. She's, of course, on everything, from video to audio to everything that she does. But I had such an experience with my radio show with podcasting and different forms of media. And I'm on television as well, but not to the extent that she's on. And so it's just such an interesting combination of what we knew together that we thought, well, we need to combine our expertise, and we created this venture, Your Media Docs. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Gilda, what do you want to tell us about Your Media Docs?
I am so delighted to work with Dr. Diane Hamilton because I've worked with various people over the years, and to one extent or another, the fit was never good enough. And being a PhD is very difficult because we are very, very exacting. We are looking for things that really work well. And with Dr. Diane, the fit is like this. It's perfect. We both have PhDs. We're both authors. She's done more radio. I've done more television. We've brought this together. We both do coaching. She teaches people how to set up radio shows. This is a phenomenal skill. I can't do that. I teach people how to do the major international and national TV appearances. And I've worked with CEOs and all their staffs, and I've made them shine. And sometimes I did too good a job, and I ended up in the headlines for for getting into trouble. But I love what I do because I just love seeing people open up and get better and better at what they do. And this is what Diane and I share. We both love pushing buttons, people's buttons, and seeing them just grow and just before our eyes. It's a gorgeous thing.
It's a gorgeous thing.
So that's what I do.
Well, you mentioned something about make people shine. That's a special thing. But when you make people shine, they would deflect the same light back on you and make you shine as well. So you become a celebrity, which you are a celebrity. Tell me a little bit what you've done before this venture. Well, who is Dr. Gilda Carle?
I have been on every television show that people know about, from Howard Stern to Dateline to Sally Jesse Raphael. I was the therapist on Sally Jesse Raphael for many years. I've been on I've been on movies. One of my movies was highlighted on Oprah. It won an Emmy Award. It was I led a family to tell their 7-year-old son that his mother had died in the World Trade Center bombing. And it was, I still can't watch this movie, but it did win an Emmy on HBO, and it did wonderfully. And I've done other movies, and I also have written 18 books. So most of them have been, actually all of them in one way or another have been relationship centered. And when I work in a corporate world, I'm a relationship strategist. I help set up the protocols of dealing with the media from my client's perspective. When I work individually, and Diane and I were talking on one of our videos, about how you cannot separate the professional from the personal, and how many times I have worked with somebody in a CEO capacity only to find that he's having issues at home, and then we have to go back into the personal. So it's very difficult to separate those two. So I do relationship counseling for individuals as well as relationship strategizing for companies. I'm more the academic who applies pop culture to the academic formats.
Good. That's very good to know. What a combination, Dr. Diane. Now,
I think so.
for those who don't know, Dr. Diane is the creator of the Curiosity Index. This fits well with the expertise and know-how and background of Dr. Gilda. So the new venture they're doing, which I'm going to have them talk more about it, your media docs is going to be a helpful instrument for others to be effective communicators, Dr. Diane?
Yes.
Yeah.
In what format?
Actually, this is going to help in all different formats. I mean, we're talking about media as, in front of an audience, in front of a camera, in a podcast setting. And we go into all different aspects of communications in general. But we have this expertise from a unique background. I mean, we could list the shows that Dr. Gilda's been on here all day long because she's been on everything. And so she definitely has that in front of the camera, in front of a live audience expertise, which of course I do as well in a certain way and in a different way than she has. And so mine is I have a lot of the technical background that she doesn't have in the, behind the scenes, how to set up computers, as how to do the files and how to do the editing. And so we do a combination of things. We do not just in front of the camera what you need to know, but preparation if you're the interviewer or the interviewee. So it's like all aspects of how you communicate from every perspective. And you know this from doing a show like this. You don't just get on and have it just miraculously show up in outer space and everybody can listen to it. There's a whole lot that goes into it, right?
Of course. So basically what you're going to be doing, you're going to provide sessions to interested individuals, whatever the format they want to be on, either it's a podcast or any other format. Probably if they want to be on a national television with a larger communication company, let's say ABC, NBC, CNN, it doesn't matter what company it is or network, they may also use your service to prepare for such events. Is that something what you're thinking to do as well later on, or that's something on the books now? Dr. Gilda.
Whether they come to us or they go to somebody else, there is nobody out there, whether they are in politics, whether they are just a book author selling their book, whatever it is, there is nobody out there who should go out there without this kind of training, because it is not just a talking head anymore. You have to provide such sizzle that people will be enacted and interested in pursuing whatever it is that you're training and that they are selling. So it's very important these days to have a coach of some kind.
Exactly. And most of us, at least I learned it on the job. I've done too many mistakes and I learned from each one of them.
We all did.
But to be able to know there's a company such as yours and will help and provide the help needed, actually you bring in experience that is not taught even in a college level or university level as of now, because this is a new medium, everybody's learning the new curve. To know someone like you, Dr. Diane and Dr. Gilda, but the question to you, Dr. Diane, so to know someone like you in your company, basically you're going to save them a lot of time and probably money along the way with them learning and money as well.
Well, everything that Gilda said, I agree with, and what from being at meetings, you and I have been together at the Forbes School of Business with Steve Forbes and all the people that we chatted with, that my experience as the MBA program chair at Forbes was something that led to my creation of a brand publishing course as part of the work at Forbes and the Forbes School of Business both. And so all that I've learned from teaching all these marketing courses and creating these brand publishing courses and all this has been really instrumental in this knowledge that we can help leaders and individuals, because we talk about things that you can maybe find little bits and pieces of some of the stuff we talk about from other people, but you don't find the depth that we have and the well-roundedness of whether you should have a PR company or how to be a product spokesperson, or some of the topics we get into are very unique that I haven't seen anybody cover all in one area like what we're doing.
Because nobody has this kind of combination of skills. We just kind of found each other. And it's a marriage made in heaven, actually. This is the best partnership I have ever had.
Yeah,
Because so it's fabulous. And she'll come to me, I'll come to her. Do you know this? Do you know that? And it's a fabulous combination.
It's a perfect combination, it seems like, because you complement your skills and background, complement each other to produce the perfect product. Take me into a scenario where a client comes to your office or call you, and later on I'm going to ask you how they can reach you. Take me into a scenario how someone can approach you and some of the services you'll provide, in addition to just give me a scenario how to. So I'm an executive. I come to you and I say, I need some training. The assessment process, is there an application? Tell me about the process, how it works.
Well, just with anything that you're helping somebody on a consulting basis, you find out what their needs are. You find out where they want, where they're speaking. Are they getting on a live presentation? Are they going to be on radio? Are they going to? A lot of it is what are they hoping to achieve, and a lot of it is branding. You want to find out what's your image, what are you trying to accomplish, who's your audience. That's the hugest thing. We talk about that quite a bit of how a lot of people speak and they have no idea who their audience is or what their message should be. So you want to add to that, Gilda? I mean, because I know that's a lot in your book, which we could talk about too.
Yeah, I'm just in the middle of editing a brand new book about this. It's extremely important to know who you're delivering your message to. And so many people will come to us and say, you know, I think I ought to get some training. Training on what? For audience. And so often the people who want to hire us will say, well, I just want to know, I just want to do better eventually. And eventually isn't enough. Eventually doesn't tell us what it is that they must get across to whom. And we are sticklers about making sure that they know thoroughly who their audience is. I have a needs assessment in my book. Go down the list, find out their ages, their income levels, their status, not only their economic status, their social status. All the things about them that people tend not to ask. And one of the examples I give was when I was on the Today Show, before I sat down and I said to the producer, what are the demos for the Today Show? And the producer was very shocked that anybody would ask such a question. It can be done on the phone before you even meet with these people, or it can be done when you are there. So that if you know that the Today Show, for example, delivers best to women who are married from 40 to 60, which is an older demographic than you would ordinarily think on many of the media outlets, then you direct your message to them. Frankly, Diane and I are not interested in getting somebody's money without giving them some kind of value that we can watch on their presentation as they open up. So it's not about, this is a business. This is something that is so necessary.
No, I'm sensing your passion. There's a passion behind it. You could have a business, but you're already in your own rights. You're successful, both of you. It's not about the money only. It's the passion that you can provide to others and have them, as you said it earlier, have them shine.
Abe, I'd like to add something on that.
Yes.
Because, and something else that I think is really important when people come to us. I know that when I first started out, I looked at, in the radio business, I should say, I looked to get on other people's shows and what you had to do. And so I knew what to ask people who were on my show. And then I was on other people's shows. And I actually attended a lot of different, Gilda and I do this. We'll attend like all kinds of webinars and training, and because we're kind of learning junkies, right? So I've gone to these things in New York where they'll teach you how to get on media, you know, how to get the attention of the Today Show, how to get the attention of, you know, The View, or all these things. And I thought it was really interesting because they will teach you how to create like a one sheet of your data. Like, you know, this is what here's some like hooks of ideas of this is why they'd want you on the show, and you come up with all these really crazy things, and which are good because you get their attention. But then a lot of what they teach you as a radio show host, I get people sending me similar things and it doesn't help me at all. I'm like, wow, I need to help people because I learned that is what they're teaching people. And that's really not what I want as a radio host. If somebody's coming to me, I want to see, you know, first of all, I got to see really good bio. I've got to see good questions of what kind of directions they like to go in. I like to see certain things that if they're just pitching me these quick and witty headlines, that might work for a Today Show kind of thing, but that doesn't work for my show. So they have you come up with like this one stuck one page that you give to everybody. And you have to treat, it's just like personalities. Everybody's different and you have to focus on the individual needs. And I think that one size fits all would be nice and easy, but it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. If somebody is prepping for Diane's radio show, that's an entirely different thing.
Oh,
I did a 20th Century Fox subsidized a show for me, a pilot, the Dr. Gilda show. And as it was some years ago, and now we are looking to redevelop the Dr. Gilda show in more pop culture terms here, hopefully as soon as COVID decides to leave us. But we're doing very similar things in our different arenas, and the things that would be good or great for Diane's audience would not necessarily be good or great for my audience. And that's why we are such sticklers about who is your audience. And when somebody turns to me and says, I really don't know, well then keep your money, go back, do your homework, and then come to us more prepared. Because we don't
Probably they just want to come to see you. You never know. They pretend they want to be your clients, but they come to see you. Who knows? They know who you are.
Why are they coming to see us? They can see us on videotape.
Well, everybody's seeing everybody on video these days. That's the thing, huh?
Right, but this is a skill, as Diane just said, this is a skill that has not been explored enough. I was doing this kind of training online a couple of years ago in my MBA courses. And one of my students came to me and said he had no choice. He took on a client. He was a great entrepreneur. He took on a client in China. There was no way he could get to China. And all he had was this digital presentation. He thanked me up and down. He couldn't believe that he was so well prepared, and he got a 6-figure contract for that. I should have asked for a commission.
Actually, you should have. You know, Dr. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Diane.
Well, it's all the things that we've been talking about. There's just so many areas from, you know, Gilda's been the spokesperson for, you know, Match.com and other areas that, you know, there's that preparation. I was thinking of some of the other things that we help people with are, say you want to get on Speakers Bureau. That's another thing you pitch differently. You know, then you're not going to send them that same one sheet. You know, I recently had, I like it when people come to me from Speakers Bureaus, because I'll say, well, send me what you know, some of your speakers profiles that you think are really good, because I like to see what they like, because it gives me all these different ideas. Fascinates me, no matter who you're training, and from both sides of being on my speaker end or the trainer end, of what works for everybody. And so those are the kinds of things that, as we have our video discussions that we share on LinkedIn and different places through our YouTube stations and everything else, we talk about these things, because it's subjective to some extent what we're helping people do. You know, you can't quantify exactly what's going to appeal to every single person. So it's a debate. That's why it's great to have two of us, because I'm the less flamboyant, maybe, the two of us, and I'll look at it from that perspective, and Gilda will look at it from what's that? Yeah, she's a little more controversial, which is great, because you want to, you know, if you're talking daytime TV, they want the controversy. They want you to break in and interrupt and do certain things. But if you're on a business talk show, no, you don't interrupt. You don't. So we look at it, we go, okay, this works here, but this doesn't work there.
Well, I think I can't underline enough about the need for flexibility, because you just don't know. Even on a radio show, when I first met Diane, she said, "Hey, you want to be on my radio show?" I didn't know anything about her. I had just moved to Arizona. I didn't know anything about anybody here. So I said, "Oh yeah, sure." Figured it was another radio show. But boy, was I impressed with the depth of knowledge this woman has. And it was so identical to the depth of knowledge I had and have and thirst for. Now, I came from the New York media market. That is a tough, hard, that trained me. And as they say, if you can make it in New York,
You
you
can
can
make it
make
anywhere.
it anywhere.
And
And
that's
right
true.
there, we have to find the depth within ourselves.
With Dr. Diane, you definitely found that depth. I know she's a trendsetter. It seems she found and you found the perfect match. And I really do hope and wish you the best in this venture, which will be very helpful to everyone that's interested in becoming an effective communicator, regardless of the medium.
I want to make sure that everybody understands that you ought not be shy. These are skills that you cannot possibly develop on your own. You could read 1,000 books on this, but until somebody is pushing you into the trenches, you cannot develop these skills without that kind of coaching.
And who's better? And who's better to do this than you and Dr. Diane? Because you have the experience. You've been there and you're still doing that.
Yeah, we've been there. We are there. And we want to see people succeed.
Dr. Diane, you want to add anything?
Well, I mean, it's just such a unique time, and all the things that we talk about, what led us to even being interested in doing this was, you know, as Gilda said, when we first met, she was on my show, and we started looking at some of the things that we knew in all of our background. We thought, well, we should do some kind of a media type thing together. And initially, we'd looked at doing different kinds of television shows and things. And I learned a lot from just that experience of, you know, how not everybody lives in Hollywood, not everybody lives in New York. You can't tell Gilda's from New York, I'm sure, but not all of us are from New York or have that kind of platform around us. You know, you don't have the movie studios or the television studios, and one thing was really interesting that I learned from Gilda and looking at doing different television shows and things that we've researched is, where do you do this? How do you have live audiences? How do you get this kind of executive production? And how do you do this from scratch? It's kind of like when you write a book, you have to know how to do a proposal for your book. Exactly. Well, you have to do the same kind of thing if you want to show. And so I mean, she teaches me those kinds of things, and I teach her the tech stuff, and we go back and forth with what we learn from each other. And since I'm a curious person, I love learning something new. This has been a really great learning experience for me. And I thought, well, what we've learned and what we've taught each other, we could share with other people. And that's really
you've never been afraid to learn new things. You've always sought to learn new things. Yeah, why not? Exactly.
Well, yeah. Dr. Abe, I have never met anybody who, like me, is so interested in the learn.
Curious, so curious.
Quest for knowledge. So then I met Diane, and lo and behold, she's just as I am. Amazing, amazing. I just love it. It's great.
Well, we have a lot of fun at Abe, as you can tell. That we have this
chemistry.
Your ability to, yeah, we have the chemistry, and but we have this ability to learn from each other, and yet share what we learn while we're kind of discovering it together. And I love that, because if we haven't learned it yet, we figure it out together somehow, between putting the pieces together of what she knows between what I know, and then it all comes together as something that we can really help other people. Because you want to shorten the curve. I mean, everybody, why reinvent the wheel? Exactly. We figured out so much, you know, and that's what they do in the business world. You know that. We teach so much business. Everybody's always reinventing the wheel, because we're all in these silos. We're all keeping our knowledge to ourselves because we don't want the other guy to get ahead of us. Or as soon as you look at everybody as competition, and that's when you fail.
I love that.
I think
collaboration is the key.
And
that's the message we need to deliver.
Definitely.
One of the 18 books that I wrote is called One Up Strategies Business Schools Don't Teach. And
Yeah.
who better to teach these things than somebody who's been in a business school and has seen that they are not teaching these basic communication skills and media training skills that are mandatory if you're going to succeed in this very tough world.
Well, we know that everybody's hired for their skills, their knowledge, and then they're fired for their behaviors, right? So we know the soft skills thing. So we're working on this behavioral aspect. That's what I focus on, seeing perception and everything else that I do. And that's what Gilda, she deals with all of that when she works with women, female veterans, and different ways to get people successful. So I think that her message is about success and my message is about success. And then we do this in addition to the other companies we run, help, just people to learn what we've learned to make.
You also have your new book, Perception, is coming up, right? Is it
It
going
is.
to be
I saw
with
you
Dr.
interview.
Maya?
Yeah, Dr. Maya Zelahich and I co-wrote The Power of Perception. That should be out later this year.
Nice.
And that's a book that kind of takes into IQ, EQ for emotional quotient, and CQ for cultural and curiosity quotient, and combines of how we can be successful globally based on our understanding of perception. And so I think that, that book's coming out, and then Gilda's got her book coming out. I'm not sure.
What's
Gilda?
your book, Gilda?
I have to thank Diane for helping me with the title, because I was all around the map over that. It's now called Amplify Your Media Presence, Amplify Your Brand.
Oh, I love that. That goes in line with your new venture.
Yes, exactly. So I'm figuring, although I haven't discussed this with Diane yet.
Uh-oh, we have
You
a
can do it
scoop.
now.
Wait a minute, listen up.
Okay, take notes, Diane. I'm figuring that Diane and I will probably come up with a book of our own eventually.
I wouldn't be surprised either, but what would it be all about?
It's going to be media oriented,
Good.
but it will probably be about relationships and behavior. Everything the two of us do are so interrelated. But I really do think that Diane and I are headed to write something together. So this is an entirely different thing. I've done it, I've taught it, but as far as my own professionalism was concerned, I wasn't even interested in doing this without live audiences.
It's
But-
a
That's
different
very
time.
interesting.
But Gilda definitely is Paul in center square, just so you know. If we're going to have the squares, I'm not sure which one will be one of them.
It looks good so far. There's a few of them.
So Abe, I'm curious that when you did your radio show, didn't you find it challenging to learn all the ins and outs of your podcast?
Very, very. I mean, I had some hard times finding the right microphone.
Some of us have multiple, you have to have backups, you have to try different things, and it's a challenge.
Finally, yeah, I found the platform that fits me well. I'm sounding better, I'm more confident, and I'm still learning. There's no such thing as you can learn overnight.
Well,
No, but you're shortening the curve though, right?
Exactly. So something came to mind, and I'm going to say it very quickly. In addition to your business, with your passion, I see a mentor trying to shorten the experience or the time for others to learn. Because you give them all your skills, you give them all your expertise, you give them all your knowledge for a certain amount of money, which is well deserved. But the benefit in the values they're receiving because of this shortened time they learn. Like an example, it took me a year or so to learn what I have to learn. If I knew there's a company like yours existed then, I would have invested some money. I would have saved time, energy, and know-how. So it's an excellent model.
Interesting thing that I have learned from being in the media is that there are never negatives to being out there. And a lot of people are feeling self-conscious and not secure enough, or they don't look good enough, or, they think about all these crazy things. And we've even talked about how we too, seeing ourselves go, oh, no, oh. We are very real. And I think that's another thing about us. But, when I started out, I have a copy of a 1988. Now, that's a couple of years ago, 1988, I did a media training for the head of the Health and Hospitals Corporation in New York. This woman was a pediatrician. She was a nice lady. She was being pummeled on the steps of City Hall. And because of the work that we did, she showed up after a week at a very intense weekend. She showed up on the steps of City Hall in New York, where you have seen no other definition for shark than a New York shark. And she showed up and she looked elegant and she stood differently and whatever. And because of this, I was in every newspaper. Look how much the cash-strapped New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation has spent on this media trainer and this image consultant. And I mean, I have a legitimate PhD, but you know, the media, and I said, oh no, how am I going to face anybody? Well, as it turned out, I was getting calls from every hospital in the United States practically asking me to do for their president what I had done for this doctor, for this MD. And I said, oh no. So the negatives turned into positives. And that's the kind of work and training that we do for people out there. And it's incredible how you may think, oh no, I said this, I opened my mouth and I stuck my foot in it. It was terrible and terrible. But
Just be yourself.
With Diane, show people how to turn it around to the positive and get so much for having had that experience. I was in the trenches. I learned how to do it myself.
You share something you don't learn overnight.
And you can't get it from a book.
You can get it from a book. No, you can't.
You know, getting it this way is so much more efficient. And I think that, you know, when I started my radio show, I found out I had the show and it was going to start in 2 weeks. And I had never done a radio show in my life. They go, here you go. Here's your time slot, 10 a.m. Eastern time, 3 times a week. Just go. You know, I didn't know how to do the software. I didn't know how to get the guests. I didn't know how to do any of it. I had to create all the ads. I had to create all the content, all the video, all the audio, anything that you saw, I did. And you had to do that really fast. But I think most people would just go, forget it. I'm not going to figure that out. It's just too much, because that can be overwhelming, you know? And if I'd missed out and said, no, I didn't want to do that, think of, you know, that snowballed into so many other things that were just.
You wouldn't have those skills now that you have.
Well, I know, and we want people to not miss these later opportunities, because this could all snowball, you know. And I think that mentorship, Abe, you brought up such an important point. I serve on a board for Global Mentoring Network, and I was just on for an interview with Liz Wiseman, who's like the genius of the world, and Tui Vu, who is one of the best interviewers of all time. You know, and we talk about all the things that we do in mentorship within this company. But, you know, I think you need more than one mentor, and maybe they come to us and they think we're really helpful to them and we can do a lot of things for them. But I don't think that you only should go and have one mentor. I think sometimes you can get multiple people, different perspectives.
Different expertise,
you and I,
different perspectives.
we watched Roger Loves do a great presentation. Remember how wonderful he was?
Yes.
Now, if I could sing, I'd get up on stage and try to do what Roger does, but I would clear out the joint. If I started to sing, it would be very frightening.
It was an excellent experience, wasn't it?
It was a very good, and he's been on my show, and he's a great entertainer and presenter.
Voice coach, I watched some of these videos you have, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Sometimes it goes 5 minutes. I watch them because I know we're going to have the show, and I wanted to find more of the personalities. Although I know Dr. Diane, I just wanted to find Gilda's, how the thinking process and stuff. And I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I have you here. It's a joy. It's morning time, and you made my day. Anything else you want to add?
Well, just in case you can't find your mediadocs.com, you can always find Dr. Diane Hamilton.com or drgilda.com.
And from there, you have links. You have everything you need.
We're pretty easy to find.
Easy to find.
We're everywhere. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing your expertise. Thank you for bringing your presence to the show. Now, at least you can say, oh, I've been on Dr. Abraham's show.
I tell you, I'm impressed with what you've done, Abe. I really am. I follow you, and it's been great to watch your success. It really has.
If you would be kind enough to send us a copy of this, we will post it for you on our.
Oh, definitely. I'll share it. I'll tag you. I'll let you know. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
A pleasure. Yeah. Be safe and be blessed.